Good evening. It's Monday, January 21st, 2019. The San Jose Barracuda fell in overtime tonight to their interstate rivals, the Bakersfield Condors, 6-5. But I'm here to try and make things sting a little bit less. I'll go over the game highlights as well as recap how the team has been running as of late. And there are plenty of other things to get to. I'm Kevin Lacey, and this is Barracuda After Dark. Finally, this season, we have a Barracuda After Dark. You've been asking for it for quite some time, and we just haven't been able to string things together, unfortunately. But tonight is the night, and unfortunately, the Barracuda lost. Wish it could have been a happier note going into, but they did come back from 3 2-goal deficits tonight and forcing overtime. Unfortunately, in the highlights to come, or the lowlights to come, there are a lot of themes with the Barracuda defense that are a little uncommon for how they've been playing. They've been one of the best, if not the best, defensive teams in the American Hockey League this season. And unfortunately, tonight, you wouldn't have known that. But if you are new to the show, of course, please subscribe. We're on the Teal Tinted Glasses, or I'm on the Teal Tinted Glasses show channel this evening. And sometimes I'm on Teal Town, USA. Sometimes I'm here. Tonight, this is where I'm at. So thank you for tuning in. Of course, if there are any topics that you'd like to discuss, send them through on the Google chat if you're watching live on YouTube, or if you're catching this on your favorite podcatcher, one of the audio streams we have out there. Go ahead and tweet at Teal Tinted Pod. Tweet at Kevin Lacey 22, and we'll try and go over I say we, right now it's just me, but we, meaning me, Hockey Jerk, and Ian Reed, will hopefully go on the air sometime soon, again, as a group, as a trio, and answer your questions. But on to the show. All right, I have people in the chat. Okay. I'm going to block Richard Ramirez, though. No, just kidding, Richard. You're pulling my strings already here. I'm solo. You know how difficult this is to get things together when you're your own director, producer, and on-air talent. Actually, I do have a question for you guys, though, since I haven't done this for a while. How is the stream? Am I super laggy or just normal Kevin laggy? I'm attempting to run this at a little bit of a higher bandwidth than usual, and hopefully it's coming through clear. But if my video is lagging, I will try and dumb it down. So yeah. Anyway, Rob Iman right off the bat saying you should create your own separate channel for Cuda Chat. I thought about that, and there's some things going on there. We're not on Teal Town, USA tonight. I thought we would be, but go ahead and let them know. Let Teal Town, USA know that you want more Barracuda coverage, as I and them would be happy, I'm sure, to give it to you. But so far, it's been lacking. So yeah, I've thought about doing my own channel. I think there's way too many channels out there, and we all just need to basically get along and make it all as one and have a great community. You guys are awesome in the chat. And let's see here. Race Fan Rocks, I will get to your question here right now, just because I was not at the game tonight. I was watching on the AHL.TV app, which I will discuss later on. So I don't know how many Condor fans were in attendance. So that's something that you guys can discuss in the chat. But in the meantime, let's get on to the game, because they're a 6-5 game. That's a lot of scoring. Started off there, nothing really happening in the first half of the first period. It was just solid back and forth effort. But about 6.5 minutes left in the first period, Dave Gust up the right side, skated towards the point, stopped, went the other, reversed back towards the corner, took just a kind of a centering shot, and it looked like it was going to go in off of the, I almost said Oilers, the Condors captain Keegan Lowe, but it ended up hitting Rourke Chartier in the back of the foot and got past Bibeau to make it 1-0. That's Antoine Bibeau, of course. Typically, the Barracuda alternate their goalies. Coronash started last Friday against Texas, so tonight was Antoine Bibeau's turn. I actually thought Antoine Bibeau was outstanding for the Barracuda. I really felt that, the 6 goals against that he faced, that's not on him tonight. It's just one of those nights where statistically it looks bad for him. I thought he was very good. But you know who else was very good and is always very good against the Barracuda? Josh freaking Curry. Josh Curry again. He had already been stopped once on a backhand forehand move earlier in the period by the left pad of Antoine Bibeau. But on the power play, Keaton Middleton was in the box for cross-checking, but I swear it was him. There was a 3-on-2 shorthanded for the Barracuda, and the puck ended up getting dropped back to the point man, who I thought was Keaton Middleton, but if he was in the box, it must be getting him confused with Kyle Wood. So we'll just go with Kyle Wood had his shot blocked, and the Condors went 4-on-2 back the other way on the power play. Eventually, it turned into a breakaway for Josh Curry, backhand, forehand, roof over Antoine Bibeau, and it was 2-0 Bakersfield late in the first. But the scoring just got really wild because 26 seconds later, Keaton Middleton, the guy who had just come out of the box, he came in. I'm trying to remember because thankfully Keaton Middleton scored twice tonight. So I'm just actually going to quickly cheat. This is normally where I throw it to another man like Hockey Jerk or Ian to stall while I pull up my notes from the game. But yes, okay, so I'm on it. Alex True and John Martin were behind the net. John Martin forced the puck out to True behind the net. True with a nice backhand dish to Keaton Middleton coming in from the blue line to the slot. Blasts it by the Condors goalie Stuart Skinner. That was his 4th goal of the season, and I cannot speak much higher of Keaton Middleton than I will, because this is a guy that Marlies fans crapped on so hard. Now, you all know, everyone knows, that even non-hockey fans, I think, know that Toronto fans are rabid and they know everything, or at least they think they know everything about the Maple Leafs. And it's not that far off from the Marlies too. They take their Marlies very seriously. So Keaton Middleton was a draft pick by the Maple Leafs, and he was, I'm trying to think, remember some guys named Mirko Mueller and Julius Bergman. So, yeah, what the Sharks and Barracuda fans thought of those two guys, that's what the Maple Leafs fans felt about Keaton Middleton. The thing is, Keaton Middleton had never played a professional game, so I thought that was a little unfair. Gets released or doesn't get signed by the Maple Leafs. Of course, his brother, Jacob Middleton, Sharks Barracuda alternate captain on the Sharks organization, in the Sharks organization. I'll get my words together here. Of course, Keaton was going to sign a tryout here. Did great in camp, earned himself a Barracuda contract this season. He's been a rock on the Twin Towers pairing, he and Kyle Wood this season. I've thought his mobility for a guy who's 6'5", might be closer to 6'6", 6'7". I think his mobility is pretty good. He's really smart, heads up, and now he's got 5 goals on the season. The 4th one, that was a long way to get to the 4th goal, but hopefully you enjoyed the info I just kind of threw out there. But that was his 4th goal of the season, and then unfortunately, shortly thereafter, a complete breakdown by the Barracuda defense, not named Keaton Middleton. It was one of those things where everyone out there was just standing there watching, as I believe it was Dave Gust was just blazing up the left side and behind the net, and he passes the puck to Evan Poli, and then he passes, and everyone is just standing there forgetting, oh, there's still 50 seconds to play left in the first period, and Tyler Vessel eventually gets the goal for the Condors again late in the first. A lot of late action here. That made it 3-1. I'm going to throw it to the chat before I get to the second period. It's Dave Gust. It is Dave Gust, Race Fan Rocks. So, yes. Now I'll move on to the second period. I talked about Keaton Middleton. Very quirky play here. Keaton Middleton falls down at the blue line to hold the puck in, but, you know, by any means necessary. Puck gets out to Alex True, who gets it to Jaden Halbgewachs. And Halbgewachs, after getting that puck, Middleton gets up, goes right to the place where he scored the first goal. Halbgewachs gets it to Middleton. Middleton kind of somewhat whiffed on his shot, but he beats Skinner through the legs. That made it 3-2. Gave the Barracuda some life. If you saw Teal Town After Dark earlier this evening, you saw the guys get a little bit excited there. And then they got really excited when Kevin Fitzgerald on the power play scored his second goal of the season. That was his first goal since the second night of the season, which was also against Bakersfield. That was on October 6th. The last time Fitzgerald scored. That was a play where Antti Suomela, and I will call him Suomela because I still do not believe it's Suomela. Suomela ends up getting the puck from Chartier in the left corner, throws it out to the right point where Fitzgerald was, kind of the off leg shot, left side, how do I want to say, left-handed wrist shot. Goes past Skinner. Big goal for Fitzgerald. Big goal for the power play of the Barracuda. The Barracuda power play in that first period was atrocious, and they are ranked. I don't know how they're ranked after this game, but entering the game, they were in 26. I know they were 6th on the bottom. I believe that put them 26th in the AHL on the power play. As strong of a season the Barracuda have had defensively, and decent enough of a season they've had offensively, although tonight you wouldn't know it. I mean, they put up 5 goals, but their power play has not been that good, and I'll get to that a little bit later on if we have some time. So 3-3 hockey game, new life. Things are looking pretty good. So again, back to some back and forth action. I mean, the shots in the first period, 11-9 Bakersfield. Shots in the second period, 14-10 Bakersfield. So relatively close, but then the wheels just fell off for the Barracuda there the last 4 minutes. Really, even before then, they had a couple of bad shifts out there where they just let the Condors come at them full bore. But or full bird. But Patrick Russell ends up skating up the left side. It was a nice breakout pass by Brad Malone, if I recall, from his own zone out to Russell. Russell by himself rushes up the left side. Tom Gregoire tries to keep up and just gets burned. Russell skates right around him, cuts to the middle, beats Antoine Bibeau through the legs, and gets the Condors back up to make it 4-3. And then less than a minute later, again, just what are the Barracuda defense doing tonight? Jeremy Waugh, who's back in the lineup, and don't call him Jeremy. Jeremy Waugh loses his stick, kicks the puck up to Rourke Chartier, who is tripped. No call, but I couldn't. It was with the AHL TV angles. It was kind of hard to see whether it was he just tripped or he got tripped. But regardless, he tripped, fell, lost the puck. Kevin Fitzgerald kind of standing there just watching Chartier, almost to the point where it seemed like he wanted to argue with the referee that it should have been a call. Completely loses his man. Chartier's not on anyone. Waugh's not on anyone. Puck comes out to Ethan Bear. Ethan Bear scores his first goal in almost a year. It was February something of last year. It doesn't matter. Ethan Bear, first goal of the season, 5-3 Barracuda, nothing. 5-3 Condors, nothing that Antoine Bibeau could really do about that. Hi, Felix Chow. Okay, David Gottlieb says it was a blatant trip. So there you go. He got tripped. Richard's Yeah, Auntie Someli. Someli. That's our new thing. If you go to the Barracuda games, there's a certain guy who works for the team who really can't pronounce anyone's name properly. You know who it is. Anyway, Sumeli. Cheryl says that the Cuda giving out first goals like the Sharks. Yeah, the Sharks game was pretty bad tonight. Unlike the Sharks, at least the Barracuda attempted to come back and eventually did. Because in the third period, after kind of a nothing third period, the Barracuda decided to finally play the last 10 minutes. They ended up outshooting the Condors. I'm getting these teams mixed up for some reason. Now you think that I guess I can't speak about the announcer always messing up the names when I'm mixing up the teams. So boo on me. But anyway, Jeremy Waugh. I wish I had my media notes here. Because that's what it says in the media guy, Jeremy. But anyway, Jeremy Waugh gets his third goal of the season. John Martin was wearing an A tonight for the first time in his career, and he's been quite the story for the team. He's a guy, obviously, that when you would watch Pucknology Writers Room and then the previous renditions of Barracuda After Dark and whatnot, John Martin usually wasn't brought up, and when he was brought up in conversation, it usually wasn't positive. He's a guy who you can tell he's a good guy. You can tell that when he's out on the ice, he's trying his damnedest to do something. In training camp the last 2 years, I see him always trying to get extra advice from the coaches. You see that, maybe he doesn't have the most beautiful skill set, but he's a guy who really wants to be a part of the team, contribute to the team. And he's kind of become a leader for these guys ever since he was put on a line with Francis Perron and Alex True. Something has clicked. They've brought him up and he's found some confidence now. He scored 3 straight games a couple weeks ago or last week or whatever. That's the first time he ever did that. He was named #1 star in a game. First time that ever happened. Now tonight he gets to wear an A for the first time. You have to be proud of this guy. He comes up with the puck, goes from the right side to the middle, drops, leaves the puck, but it was a deliberate leave, so it wasn't like he lost the puck. Left the puck for Waugh, took 2 defenders with him. Waugh comes in with all the open space and wires the puck. You can tell I'm a hockey player because I'm like doing the motions at the wires the puck past the stick side, far side of Stewart's center, giving the Barracuda some life. That made it 5-4. And then Felix says, at least the Edmonton fans have something to cheer about now. Not yet. They couldn't cheer yet because with under a minute left, so about 2 minutes left, Antoine Bibeau was pulled for the extra skater. Condors had a chance to get the empty net goal, but I can't remember if it was Patrick Russell. Someone ended up losing the puck to Kevin Fitzgerald. Kevin Fitzgerald takes the puck back at his own goal line, red line, skates all the way up the ice, diagonal through the neutral zone, up the left side, gets all the way to the goal line that you want to score across, but in the corner, throws a centering pass that kind of wobbled right along the line, somehow through the crease, past Skinner, right onto the tape of Max Latunov. He backhands it, backhand stuffs the puck in with under 44 seconds left. Max Latunov makes it 5-5 in this game that the Barracuda looked down dead and out of. I popped hard. I wasn't in the building tonight, but I got up yeah, that was awesome. What a great goal. Latunov is a player who was tremendous in October and November and he hasn't been struggling to find his game. He's just been struggling to produce. But that's his 7th goal of the season. This game's going to overtime. I was there in spirit. Thank you, Brian. Appreciate that. I've got some screenshots to share with you that you got on the Jumbotron a couple of times tonight. But unfortunately this is where Felix says at least Edmonton fans have something to cheer about, because with just under 2 minutes into overtime, Joe Gambardella, basically a carbon copy of the first goal, goes to the corner, gets the puck, skates towards his own point, stops. Nick DeSimone loses his track. Gambardello's off to the races. It's him versus Bibeau. He wires it over the glove of Bibeau, under the bar, and that's your game winner. That's all-star Joe Gambardella, by the way. Talk about John Martin really changing his what's the phrase there? Changes stripes. Joe Gambardella was struggling to get in the Condors lineup last season, playing a lot of fourth line minutes for them. And by a lot of fourth line minutes, of course, that usually means not very many minutes. But Gambardella with his 16th goal of the season, and he's going to the All-Star game. Bakersfield wins 6-5. So on the night, the Barracuda ended up outshooting the Condors 38-32. However, in overtime, Condors got all 4 shots on goal, which is a shame because the Barracuda, Perron and Alex True had a 2-on-1 breakaway in OT. And Francis Perron, you know, I do watch Teal After Dark, and I read what people say on Twitter and whatnot about the Sharks have to call up Francis Perron. And I've been very reserved about that because he's been a great story. He's a guy I really, really liked in junior for Rouen-Noranda. But really, he did nothing for Belleville. He was hurt, and he just never found his way in Belleville/Binghamton for the Senators. Came here to San Jose, obviously, in some big trade that happened that you might have heard of. And Perron was just lighting the lamp time after time after time. But Francis Perron has now scored 4 goals in 17 games. So he's fighting it a little bit. You can see it in his play. He's a little more unsure of himself. He's not making the confident moves. And the other thing is, of all the goals that Francis Perron has scored this season, a lot of them have come on the power play. I'm going to try and pull up the numbers here. But anyway, on that 2-on-1, for Perron passes to True right into the defenseman's stick, and it's just one of those things where it's, man, if Perron is on fire right now, I think he calls his own number. But because of that, he decided to make the safe play, but not the smart play. Pass the puck to True, interception back the other way. And as I mentioned, eventually Joe Gambardella won it. 13 goals for Francis Perron this season, but 4 in the last 17 games. 6 of those goals have been on the power play. And when the Barracuda power play was working, it was when Perron was on the point. And so that's I'm going to kind of transition to some themes that I've seen with the CUDA so far in the first half of the season. Still can't say that the first half is closed. There's still 2 games left in Grand Rapids on Friday and Saturday at 4 p.m. Pacific time. You can catch those games at Stanley's, by the way. I'm surprised that the Sharks don't mention this more. Well, I guess I'm not, because the Barracuda don't get a lot of love from the team, which is why we have shows like ours. And again, thank you for watching. But you can watch and listen to all Barracuda road games at Stanley's. You don't need AHLTV.tv, even though it is a sweet deal. But yeah, you can watch all those games at Stanley's, get a pint, meet some friends every now and then. I know they have the giveaways and frenzies there, and sometimes I'm there. Yeah, that's not a selling point, but frenzies there, and it's usually a good time to watch some hockey and just hang out with good people. So in the meantime, going back to the power play here. So when things were working, obviously Dylan Gambrell was on the roster. Vincent Praplin, while not being the most productive player, definitely he's a guy that's been missed. He's been in and out of the lineup due to various injuries. This poor guy, he's had a lot of nagging stuff. Right now he's out with a lower body injury that was clearly from the knee on knee that he took a couple weeks ago. Sorry, that was something in the chat I'll mention in a second. But you know, they had some more I don't want to say assets, because Rourke Chartier and Antti Suomela are definitely, talented players, and they those are the two guys that set up the goal for Fitzgerald tonight. But something's not quite clicking right now with the Barracuda power play like it was when Gambrell was there and when Praplin was there and Perron was on the point. I think part of it is that while the Barracuda defensive unit has been great, they don't have a lot of puck rushers. They've got Nick DeSimone, who I didn't notice a whole lot tonight. I almost wonder if he was getting short shifted at times. Hopefully nothing's wrong there. But I felt like he was missing some shifts tonight. But you've got DeSimone as your one really true puck rusher, because Jeremy Waugh is still kind of trying to find his way, and he's in and out of the lineup, and he looked great on that goal, but overall in the game he struggled a lot. Kevin Fitzgerald scored a goal, but it's his second of the season. He's kind of a guy. He's not a bad player, and in fact, he's been a steady player for them, but he's kind of a guy. Kyle Wood has been getting there offensively. I do like him on the point, but between that, you basically have DeSimone and you've got Wood, and Tom Gregoire can do some things, but you don't have a Tim Heed, you don't have Joachim Ryan. And so I really think that Danny O'Regan was a guy that Roy Sommer used on the power play, on the point. So I think that's where some of the struggles on the power play are going. Let's see here. Felix, you're saying if he gets his production back up and consistent, might he get another chance? Are you talking you're talking about Antti Suomela. That's hi, Christine. That is a great question, because coming into the season when Suomela signed with the Sharks, the rumor was that he had an out clause that if he was assigned to the American Hockey League, he could opt out and go back over to Europe. That rumor was never confirmed or denied, although I'm kind of under the impression it didn't happen, because I feel like Cap Friendly would have had it by now. And the fact that he has been with the Barracuda for the last month and not even playing top minutes for them, which that's a concern. That's a guy that if you want to see someone get called back up, you want to see them dominate back in the AHL again when they get sent back down. Now, I think that Antti Suomela has, I said Suomela. That felt weird. I feel like he's got the tools for sure. He led the Liga in scoring last year in Finland. So he's got the skill set. I think that he just needs to build more strength. I hate really saying things like that, because as you know, I am a massive Victor Arvidsson fan, and the knock on him was he needed to get stronger. And guess what? He did, and he's leading the league in scoring since January 1st. So there. But Antti Suomela, that feels so weird to say it. Suomela, that feels so much better. But Suomela, he's definitely he's got to get stronger in front. He has the vision, but it's just, again, with him and Chartier, you'd think more things would click offensively than they are right now. And Roy Sommer needs to find the right lines to make this work. I do think that the Perron, True, Martin line, I'm going to ask you guys, by the way, what do you think about the Perron, True, Martin line? Because, again, Martin's playing great. Perron's starting to slump. True is just his steady, true self. True is just been great, and I'm happy with his progression. That's Hockey Jerk's guy, by the way. I wish Hockey Jerk was here to sing the praises of Alex True, but I do think they need to split up. So I'm curious to hear what you guys say. Cheryl says that Antti Suomela looks lost out there sometimes. Yeah, that's kind of how I feel, but I also feel like it's one of those that he looks lost because he can't find players to be where he wants them to be. And that's just you got to find some cohesion with your line mates. And so the guys that he's been with right now, if I recall, have been John McCarthy and Jaden Hobgawaks. Hobgawaks has been very hot and cold this season, very hot in October, very cold November, December, and he's been pretty good here in January. But Hobgawaks has really just not been able to find it. Like, I feel like he's on his game when he's doing it by himself, and Suomela is on his game when he's using the other parts. And that's not to say like Hobgawaks should be able to use Suomela, but the thing of it is he's not. He's just doing it on his own. So Suomela's like left off in the dust, and John McCarthy is kind of, he's the father to everybody on the team. I loved how John McCarthy's played this season, but he has not been able to bridge those two together, and I think that needs to get split. I think Jeff VL, ever since he was taken off the line with John McCarthy, I think he's struggled more. I feel like his ice time's gone down too. So David Gottlieb in the chat says, every time there are rumors the Sharks are shopping for a big-bodied fourth center, it makes me sad that Alex True is not the guy. And yeah, I think it's one of those things where Alex True just needs to develop in the eyes of the Sharks organization. And when I mean by develop, I mean their track for him is he's going to stay in the American Hockey League, and there's no problem with keeping him there. But I was thinking tonight, David, and to all of you, I was sitting there thinking tonight, I don't remember the last time I said Alex True had a bad game. Tonight, he didn't have a great game, and there have been other nights that he hasn't had a great game, but I can't remember the last time I said Alex True had a bad game. And that obviously is a good thing, but that speaks to his consistency. He's been just great. And again, building up John Martin. I'm trying to remember what the line he was on was before this all got brought together. But that was when the Barracuda were really, really rolling. And gosh, if you guys could bring that up in the chat, if you could remember who he was with. But that line was doing great. It might have even been with Hobgawaks at that time when Hobgawaks was really on fire. And Manny Viederer, I think, was on that line now that I think about it. So I think that was it. Viederer, another guy that's kind of dropped off. And so I think part of it is, the AHL is a development league. And so if Roy Sommer is not mixing lines and trying to work on different things, then he's not really doing his job, because this whole team's not getting brought up to the NHL all at what, as one unit. There won't even be a line to getting brought up all at once. So he has to get everyone used to playing with everyone and see what works. And that's really the true test of whether a guy is ready to be called up. And I'm going to bring this back to Francis Perron, because Francis Perron was doing great, but he had Dylan Gambrell feeding him the puck and Vincent Praplin feeding him the puck. And then those guys went away and he kind of started to lose it. Then he got put with Alex True, found his game again, but now things are starting to wear off a little bit, and Perron just needs to find that consistency. So until he can prove that he can play with a bunch of different guys, I don't think he's going to get called up. And Suomela is the same way. Why can't Suomela play with John McCarthy and with Jaden Hobgawaks? I don't know. So let's see here. What do I think about? Oh, okay, perfect transition, because I kind of got off the subject I was going to bring up, which is the goaltending. So Felix asked, what do I think about the Sharks goalie situation? How do you think Aaron Dell and Martin Jones have performed so far? And what do you think of people saying they should call up Antoine Bibeau or Josef Koronash? First off, Antoine Bibeau would have to clear waivers if they were to send him down. So I don't think that he would get picked up off waivers, but we have seen it where there are some teams, Philadelphia, that are really hurting for goaltending right now. And like Philadelphia is using a 20-year-old goalie right now. Oh man, that was really bad to do to my voice. Hang on, water break. Sorry for the dead air. All right. So Philadelphia's using a 20-year-old goalie. And that's the same reservation I have about them calling up Josef Koronash, who's been outstanding for the Barracuda. Antoine Bibeau hasn't been bad for them either. But I think Koronash is at the point where he's a little too young. He's a guy that we were hoping would be a decent backup for Bibeau this season, while Bibeau ran the table for the most part. Koronash instead has been like, screw that, I'm going to get more starts than you. And they've been back and forth as far as sharing starts. But overall, I mean, both goalies have been outstanding. Aaron Dell, this is where the internet just gets me really heated, because probably a month ago, we're hearing Martin Jones is the worst goalie ever, and blah, blah, blah. And Aaron Dell needs to be starting. And remember last season when people were saying that the Sharks could probably get a first-round pick for Aaron Dell? Now that was ludicrous. But here we are. Suddenly he can't play goal anymore? And he's not worth anything, and I heard some people saying, oh, he can clear waivers now, no problem. Know about that. But I feel like this is a situation where the Sharks don't need to make a goaltending change. And if they are going to make a goaltending change, they need to make the change to acquire a proven NHL goalie. And it's definitely not going to be Jones on his way out. That just, to me, would be dumb. It would be Aaron Dell, but Antoine Bibeau isn't proven in the NHL. So if you trade Aaron Dell and Bibeau doesn't produce any better results, there's only a month-ish left until the trade deadline. Can you fairly assess Antoine Bibeau or Josef Koronash to the point where you still have enough time to acquire a goalie before the trade deadline? I don't know. So I think that if Aaron Dell is going to be moved, I think it would be for another NHL goalie. It'd be like a situation like when the Sharks brought in Brian Boucher or James Reimer, where they've got a guy who they are comfortable going with if Jones falters, versus Bibeau, who is, we think he can go, and we like him, and he's proven himself in the AHL. But so that's my feeling on that. And then again, Koronash, 20 years old, keep him in the AHL. He's an all-star. He's gone from we hope he can be a good backup to this guy's an all-star. But again, it's a .919 save percentage. Let's not kid ourselves and say that Koronash is going to be the next Carey Price. But he definitely is the kind of the golden goalie. That's a poor way of phrasing that. But in the Sharks organization, there's like no goaltending prospects as high as Josef Koronash. That's really how I want to say that. So I will be curious to see what happens with Bibeau after this season. But yeah, time will tell on that. Yeah, David Gottlieb says that suddenly Jones and Dell both have terrible seasons, and I don't think it's completely their faults. And I'm on board with that. I think the defense was atrocious the first 2.5 months of the season, really through Thanksgiving. The defense was just horrible. It did not matter who was in goal. I mean, look at Montreal. Carey Price has not been great, but you think that might be because Montreal's defense sucks. The Sharks' defense was terrible. They have come somewhat around. Tonight is not a very good litmus test for that. But overall, I don't. I'm not going to blame it all on goaltending. I think the goaltending can still be there. Look at Antoine Bibeau tonight against Bakersfield. He gave up 5 goals on 32 shots, but 4, if not all 5, 4, yeah, I'd say 4 were the fault of the defense, and the 5th one was bounced off Rourke Chartier's skate. So what can you do? I don't fault him for any of the goals that he let in tonight. So, yeah, let's see here. I'm hearing, oh, now we're getting into the Justin Braun, yikes. I'm going to try and keep this AHL to AHL here. But let's see here. Brian says maybe we should assign someone like Ryan Farragher just in case. Well, I do think it's interesting that the Barracuda did not bring in another goaltender in the offseason, which, again, that's worked out because Coronash has been brilliant. But I do wonder what's going to happen if Dell gets traded and the Sharks do, in fact, bring up Bibeau or Coronash to be the backup to Martin Jones. Who's going to be the new backup for the Barracuda? I mean, this team is still first place in the Pacific. And while in the playoffs, typically you're going to go with only one guy. If that one guy gets hurt in game 68 of the season, then you're stuck with Clark Saunders. And those of you who are, watching this for the first time and are not fully familiar with the AHL, that was a thing. Mantis Armalis was so bad that they decided Clark Saunders was the Barracuda's answer. Anyway, let's see. Let me try and get onto the All-Star game here. But I do want to actually get to some of the questions that were brought up as well. This was submitted by Eric Wolf. Does Jacob Middleton have a chance of sticking in the NHL? Maybe. Jacob Middleton is a player who is just, it's just like Keaton Middleton. He got let go by his team. Jacob got let go by the Kings. And although at that time, the Kings were stockpiled in good defensive defensemen in their system, what happened there? So Jacob Middleton has definitely exceeded expectations. The whole, it's like the Michael Haley, Andrew Desjardins thing. Tryout player, although Jacob Middleton never was in the ECHL. Strike that. Actually, I think he did have a cup of coffee there. Now I think about it. But anyway, I'm rambling. Jacob Middleton was on a tryout, played way out of his mind 2 years ago for that Barracuda squad that was so good, that went to the conference finals, earned himself an NHL contract. Last season, he took a step back, but he wasn't that bad. The Barracuda were very bad up until the last 4 weeks of the season. Middleton hung his own when Nick DeSimone struggled last year. And then this year, Middleton has really been that stabilizing force like Joakim Ryan was 2 years ago, 2 and 3 years ago. Jacob Middleton is just really been a rock and someone who deserves a shot at the NHL. Skill set wise, I don't know if he can be a consistent NHLer. I just don't think he brings enough to the table, but he can skate. He's got great instincts. He really knows when to pinch in from the point and when to lay back. He's got a good stick. So the offense is it's not really his game, but if he is going to be in the NHL, I don't think it's going to be with the Sharks because Joakim Ryan is having trouble sticking with the team. And I know people are down on Joakim Ryan right now, but this is a guy that entering this season, everyone was singing his praises as the new Burns whisperer, and as I used to call him, Small Martin. Joakim, now all of a sudden, because Joakim Ryan can't get in the lineup, everyone thinks he sucks, and that's just not the case. The as I already said, the whole defensive crew has kind of not been able to find their way, and that's why the whole coaching staff had a shuffle during the season. But so in that respect, I don't think Jacob Middleton's better than Joakim Ryan. I do think he has a size advantage over Joakim Ryan. Overall, I don't think he's better than Ryan. So if Ryan can't get in the lineup, I don't think Middleton can. So that's my long-winded take on that. What do you guys think? I'm just gonna, I'm not trying to ignore the chat here. I'm trying to keep you guys involved, but so basically anything that I run my mouth on, just say, hey, that's right, or hey, you're stupid, which that's probably more likely to happen. But let's see here. Thank you, David. I'm still all in on Ryan. I appreciate that. Another question. Actually, this is a question that I do have for you guys generally. So I met Jeremy Waugh on Friday during intermission. He was doing the autograph session, and then once that got over, he was just out and about, looking dapper in his suit, and just kind of came over. I was talking to a buddy of mine who works there at the arena, and we were just chatting about random stuff, and Jeremy Waugh just kind of walked over and wanted to talk. And I'm standing there like, oh, this is cool. A player wants to come talk to us. And I had nothing to say other than, the cliche, hey, keep doing your thing. You're doing well. You'll get back in the lineup. I didn't really have anything to say to him. So my question to you is that when you go to like the autograph sessions or the meet and greets, I heard the Barracuda season ticket holder thing at Dave & Buster's was outstanding, by the way, which is great to hear, because the last couple of events for Sharks 365 that I've heard have been the takes I've been hearing have been extremely negative about that. But I'm really happy to hear that the Barracuda season ticket holders really felt like they got a good time on Wednesday night at Dave & Buster's. But anyway, when you meet your players, what do you ask them? What do you talk about them with? To them? I'm really curious as to that. And that's going to transition to something else I want to ask about is, I know the in-arena experience sometimes for the Barracuda and for the Sharks, sometimes, people love it. Some people hate it or whatnot. So when it's talking about questions and players and whatnot, the in-arena host is Tanya, and basically the interviewer is Joey Goldstein. I think Joey does a pretty good job doing those questions, asking the players during intermissions and whatnot. And that's a hard freaking job to do. I think that even though people complained about Kaylee and John, I guess it was just because of their level of excitement was so high. But I think they did a very admirable job of interviewing players and just, getting people hyped and whatnot. And I know Brody Brazil has said in the past that the number one thing that he hates doing, or I don't know if it's the number one thing, but something that he hates the most is trying to come up with something good to say to a player that he's interviewing, because you don't want to just say the same question over and over. Hey, man, that was a great period. How do you feel going into the second? Oh, I feel really good. Oh, so good. Oh, so good. Closed-ended questions. And I think that the hosts need to get a little more credit than what they do, because I think Joey does a very good job. And it's a job that, to my understanding, he was not, he kind of got thrown into because they didn't have anyone after Kaylee and John got promoted and Kaylee left for other ventures. So, again, I'll phrase this to you. What questions do you ask, and what do you want to hear them ask the players during intermissions and whatnot? I'll just kind of throw that out in case anyone from the team is watching and wants some advice. I doubt it, but because who am I? But yeah, it's curious. So, and there you go. Cheryl says Joey's the best part of the in-game experience, and I agree. So, Let's see here. Okay. All right. In the meantime, you've heard me ramble for a really long time, and there are still some things that I want to get to, so don't think that the show's coming to a close quite yet. But we're at about 50 minutes, which, as a solo person here this evening, I definitely thank you for sticking with me tonight. Again, tell a friend. I would like to say we do this after every Barracuda game, but unfortunately we don't, and my sanity comes into play sometimes. I do want to actually apologize for the lack of teal tinted glasses that we have had this season. You know, sometimes life gets in the way. And I haven't spoken with Ian in over a month, and it's not like there's any bad blood at all. It's just Ian's been really busy with work, and Hockey Jerk he's been really busy with work too, and he's also a full-time student as well. So they're both out of commission. So I can only speak for myself. But I had I took on too many side projects there in the fall to where it was taking up all my time. And then I finally started sort of dating someone, and that I was focusing a lot of time to. Unfortunately, that is no more. And then since the last time you saw me, I've had 2 concussions, which is not the best. I took a puck to the head at the Sharks game back against Carolina. Mark-Edward Vlasic in warm-up took a shot that hit the crossbar and came flying up and hit me straight in the head, to which I now have a permanent indent in my head from. And I don't have the puck to show you, but I did get the puck, and it's an all-star puck, but it's sitting on my desk at work because everyone at work freaking loves that thing and loves to razz me about getting a concussion. But I got another concussion on Tuesday in my hockey game. So I've just had a lot of weird things going on. I had 2 deaths in the family as well. So it's just a lot of stuff. So it's not that there's any bad blood. It's not that we're disinterested in doing the show. If there was, I wouldn't be doing this tonight by myself. That's for sure. It's like one thing after another has led to it just not coming together. So I really appreciate that everyone out there has been sticking with me, sticking with us. And it's nice to be back on the air with all of you, and good to see all of you in the chat tonight. So very much appreciated. So in the meantime, that was not supposed to be a downer. I just felt like needed to clear the air on what's been going on, because hopefully in the not too distant future, we're only a month away. We got NHL trade deadline approaching, and we got to get some stuff together because Peter Chiarelli's going crazy. I know Felix has been asking about the Oilers in the chat. We'll save that for another time. But Peter Chiarelli, oh my goodness, your Jordan Eberle trade has become Jordan Eberle for nothing. Although I guess Ryan Spooner is about to be assigned to the Bakersfield Condors, so there's that. Actually, let's get to the standings since talking about the Condors. The Condors have been moving their way up in the standings recently. They're in 4th place in the Pacific Division, which is a playoff spot because in the AHL, the top 4 teams in each division get the playoff spots regardless of where they're at in the conference. So the Barracuda, through the fewest number of games, which is 35, the Barracuda have 50 points. So that's awesome. The fact that they've played the fewest number of games and they have the most points in the Pacific. But right at their heels, the Tucson Roadrunners have 48 points, but the Barracuda have 2 games in hand on them. And then they've got 3 games in hand on San Diego and Bakersfield. But San Diego is only 3 points back of the Barracuda in 3rd place at 47 points. And then the Condors with the win tonight. I got to make sure this is actually updated. Hang on one second here. Just going to refresh. And I knew that wasn't updated. Okay, the Barracuda are at 51 points. after the overtime loss tonight. So they have 1 game in hand on Tucson, 3 points advantage, 4 points up on San Diego. And then the Condors, they do have a 3-game advantage on the Condors, but the Condors, with the win tonight, advance to 3 points over the Colorado Eagles, who sit in 5th. And the Condors have now won 5 games in a row. So after I believe they had lost 5 games in a row before this. So Condors are on the up and up, and I guess they're getting reinforcements with Ty Ratty and Ryan Spooner soon. So watch out, Pacific Division. This is going to get really tight. And poor Ontario sitting there in last place. I don't know what's going on, but when your parent club is in last place and in the league, and your farm team is in last place in the league, that is not a good thing. But I'm going to get to the overall standings here real quickly because the San Jose Barracuda are now, I believe, they're in 2nd place behind the Charlotte Checkers, who continue to roll, even though they've actually lost 2 in a row. But the Charlotte Checkers are at a 727 win percentage. San Jose is at a 708 percentage. None of that really matters unless you want to have a McGregor Kilpatrick banner somewhere. I would be surprised if they hung that in SAP Center. The bottom line is that it only matters in the Cup Finals who has the highest points percentage at this point. So let's see here. Fresno may be getting Seattle's AHL affiliate. I'm not going to say I don't think so, because I have heard the rumblings that Fresno's getting a team again in some capacity, either AHL or ECHL again. It's just a matter of who. And I still, and this is just a hunch, still feel like Boise, Idaho has the inside track on who would be the AHL affiliate for Seattle. We're still a couple years down the way. But okay. But All-Stars. I got to get to All-Stars because we're here at an hour in and I haven't even mentioned it. The AHL All-Star Classic is next Monday. Of course, the NHL All-Star Game is coming up later at the end of this week, but the AHL All-Star Classic is Monday on NHL Network, and I believe it's at 4 p.m. Pacific. If it's not, it's at 5 p.m. Pacific. That is being held in Springfield, Massachusetts. And the San Jose Barracuda currently have 3 All-Stars. It's Josef Koronash, as I mentioned, the 20-year-old goaltending phenom. Jacob Middleton, another player that I mentioned, been great. Curious to see if he ends up actually playing in this game. And Francis Perron, of course, with that hot start in the season. But ever since he actually has no goals in the last 5 after getting hurt. So I forgot to mention that earlier. But Perron, Middleton, J-Mid, and Koronash are the All-Stars for the Barracuda. Now, with the recent call-up of Middleton, there could be a spot opening up. We have seen some All-Star replacements as well already, I should say. Troy Grosnick is now an All-Star again for the Milwaukee Admirals. Let me flip the Arvidsson jersey around. The Milwaukee Admirals. Grosnick will be representing because of Colin Delia of the Blackhawks is currently playing for the Blackhawks. So I don't know where J-Mid stands with this. I'd like to think the Sharks will send him back down to play, but I don't know what the cutoff is. And there are still a couple of players. I'm going to get to the full rosters here. There are a couple players still in that limbo. But rounding out the Pacific, you've got Andrew Agozzino and Pavel Francouz of the Colorado Eagles. Curtis Lazar of the Stockton Heat, who is, interestingly, I think he's only their 5th leading scorer for the Heat, but he's their all-star. I know he's been on fire recently. No pun intended, by the way. So I don't know if that's where they decided to go with, but I just found that pick intriguing. Joe Gambardella, the guy who scored the game winner for the Condors tonight. Kyle Capobianco and Connor Garland of the Tucson Roadrunners. And again, Connor Garland has been doing very good things for the Arizona Coyotes. So I Again, I'm expecting him to not be in this game. And then Sheldon Rempel, the member of the Ontario Reign, basically because they can't send Cal Peterson, because Cal Peterson has played most of the year with Los Angeles, but he's been definitely their best player. But Rempel's been all right. Oh, I forgot to mention Sean Walker and Troy Terry. Slipped off there. Troy Terry of the Gulls, who I believe is second in AHL rookie scoring, if not, I believe he's second in AHL scoring among rookies. And Sean Walker is also a representative of the Reign, but he's also on recall with the Kings, so curious to see. And Roy Sommer, how could I forget Roy Sommer, is the coach of the Pacific Division All-Stars. I will quickly go through the other divisions because I know you mostly care about the Pacific. Eric Brandstrom, this is the strongest division, in my opinion, the Central. I think this All-Star team really should win the round-robin tournament that the AHL will be putting on. Eric Brandstrom, which is a Vegas, basically Vegas is Erik Karlsson in the making. You've also got Daniel Carr from the Wolves, which is the Vegas affiliate. Daniel Carr leading the league in scoring with 50 points. Then you've got Troy Grosnick and Matt Donovan of the Milwaukee Admirals, Dennis Guryanov and Joel L'Esperance of Texas, who we saw on Friday. Joel L'Esperance with 22 goals. And this is a guy that I actually had my eye on as a defensive center. I thought maybe he might be one of those guys who, like a Rourke Chartier, who finds his way into the NHL but isn't a named guy. 22 goals for them. Kaapo Kakkonen, the amazing Finnish goalie for the Iowa Wild, will be joined by Cal O'Reilly. I'm really messing up my names now. I think I just need to slow down and drink some water. And then we've got Andrew Campbell, who is the so-called Western captain. In the AHL, what they do is they have honorary captains, basically the supreme veteran players every year. Towards the end of their career, they usually get a captaincy. And so Andrew Campbell of Rockford, who's bounced around for a long time, don't know if he's really at the end of his career, but he is the Western captain versus Colin McDonald of the Lehigh Valley Phantoms. It's interesting that they only do one captain in each conference, considering that the format is division versus division, not conference versus conference. But anyway, Logan Shaw of the Manitoba Moose, Jordan Kyrou of the San Antonio Rampage, and always at the top of the scoring race every single season in the AHL, Chris Terry, Grand Rapids Griffins. They will be led by Tim Army of the Iowa Wild. Moving on to the East real quick, Zach Dalpe of Cleveland. Let's see here. Zach Dalpe will be joined by Connor Ingram and Corey Conacher. And I thought there was another member of Syracuse. I guess, it's the coach. Okay, Benoit Gru. But those Ingram and Conacher are both with Syracuse. Drake Batherson of Belleville. Alex Belziel's a nice story for Laval Rocket because he's been in the ECHL his whole career, and for the most part anyway. And then this year, he's not only got a full-time AHL gig, but he also is an all-star. Mackenzie Blackwood and John Quenville of Binghamton. Lawrence Pilot, I believe is how his last name is pronounced, for Rochester. They're also joined by Zach Redmond of Rochester. And then the Utica Comets have Reed Boucher. The Marlies have Trevor Moore, who just got re-upped to an extension by the Maple Leafs, and Callie Rosen. Then the last division, of course, the Atlantic Division. Trevor Carrick of the EHL leading Charlotte Checkers, along with Andrew Podorowski. And they will have John Gilmore of Hartford, Sebastian Aho, but not that Sebastian Aho. It's the other Sebastian Aho, the defenseman of the Bridgeport Sound Tigers, who he and his teammate Michael Dalcole will be in the Atlantic. Greg Carey of Lehigh Valley, along with captain Colin McDonald. Vitek Vanacek is the goalie, one of the two goalies for the Atlantic. He comes from Hershey, which is the Capitals affiliate. The other goalie is Sam Montembeau of Springfield, and then Ethan Prow of Wilkes-Barre Scranton. finishes it. Actually, he doesn't finish it off because Ryan Fitzgerald, the son of Tom Fitzgerald, is a Bruins all-star. And I actually forgot to mention Anthony Greco. So there you go. That is your AHL all-star roundup. Most of you have probably heard 5 of those names, but never okay. See in the chat, Corey Conacher. I remember when Corey Conacher was a name. You probably remember him because he's the guy who had the John Scott. He wore John Scott's helmets, if I'm not mistaken, in the penalty box at time, and it was like 3 times as big as Corey Conacher. He's always up there. He's like Chris Terry, always up there in the AHL scoring race. But yeah, the AHL All-Stars, if I was to pick, I think it's going to be the Central versus the Pacific in the finals of the tournament. But I'm giving the edge to the Central because that is just a very well-rounded team, a very fast team that with the 3-on-3, and I believe it's 3-on-3 unless they've changed that. That's the team I'm going with. Going back to the chat here. Thank you for the compliment, Christine. Yeah. I definitely appreciate that. And then let's see here. I did have one other question, but I'm going to leave it to another time because I want to get off the air here soon. But I do have one of my own questions that I mentioned earlier. AHL.TV. I watched the game tonight on AHL.TV because I just didn't feel like going downtown since I have to go there tomorrow morning for work. And speaking of that, I'm just going to shamelessly plug my Instagram and Twitter. Normally, I don't plug my Instagram. However, since I do work downtown, I did get the notice on Friday that Market Street will be closed for AHL All-Star festivities, just as it was for the NCAA College Football Championship game. So that was as of today. So when I go back into work tomorrow, I'm curious to see what they have out there. Please, for the love of God, it better say NHL All-Star game on the rink, the outdoor rink that's there in the plaza, because the NCAA championship game was 2 freaking weeks ago. Why are you still promoting the college football game? Where is the NHL All-Star promotion? Anything at all? Like, what is the city doing? What is the league doing? They only put the 4 banners up on the outside of SAP Center on Friday. This is the home of the NHL All-Star game? You wouldn't know it. So I'm hoping to see some things. So if something looks good or if something looks way, way off, I'm going to post it on my Instagram tomorrow at Kevin Lacey 22. And of course, that is my Twitter handle as well. But AHL.TV. Price reduction here now $44.99 for the second half of the season. Thing to keep in mind with AHL.TV, and this is something that kind of sticks with me, the price reduction this year versus last year's cost of like $300. Definitely affordable, definitely what it should be. $80 is a prime rate, but they should not be expecting to get the same kind of revenue or interest as the NHL, because a lot of people just, it's NHL and that's it. I'm sort of the same way in that I'm professional sports. I don't really care so much about college sports. It's just not my thing. I try to keep up on it, but every time I watch a game, I'm like, eh. So it's nice to see that the AHL this season obviously did a major price reduction and a bump up in service. But I know some of you out there have had issues with AHL.TV. I had a huge issue with the audio only coming out the left output for the first third of this season. It seems like they've finally resolved that. But as we saw, if you were watching the game on AHL.TV tonight, most of the game, the clock said there was 14:19 left in the first period. And I believe at the time of overtime, I think it still said there was 25 seconds left in the third period. So if that's the case, then apparently the Barracuda and Condors legs must be exhausted because they are still playing right now, according to that clock. So that's among the issues. But how are you guys feeling with AHL.TV? Are you enjoying it? Are you not liking it? I mean, I think that they only have what they can work with, like the camera angles thing. They promised multiple camera angles. We're not seeing that in most cases, but it also happens to be what does the building provide? I mean, if the teams only have one feed, then AHL.TV only has one to go off of. My thing that I don't like is that you have a team like Stockton who literally lives off of the camera up high and has nothing else. I feel like we can get better service out with that, having a floor cam or something, just anything than the standard one camera up high the whole game. I miss the Jumbotron stuff, which tonight we did get to see, and most of the Barracuda have been pretty good about showing Jumbotron stuff during the breaks. But sometimes I really want to know what's happening with the crowd because I can hear it through the audio, but I don't, so that's something I would like to see improved. Christine says Stockton's the worst. Yeah, Stockton's the absolute worst. I believe it was the Chicago Wolves. I think it was them. Might have been Rockford. I don't know. One of the Central teams. They were using the behind the net camera for a lot of the game, which that was driving me nuts, because it's one thing if you're sitting in the arena. I sit behind the goal in the arena at the Barracuda games, and I don't have a problem seeing the puck on the other end. But when you're watching on a screen and the screen's not in high def and the puck's down on the other end, you have no idea what's going on. So that was a weird one to me. The AHL Android app is trash. Yeah, I've heard that too. I don't have an Android. I do have an iPhone. I don't have the AHL app. I think there's an AHL app, but I don't have it because when I did look into it before, it didn't seem to be working. I would love to know. I would love to be able to watch AHL.TV on my TV. I haven't looked into seeing if I can just open up a web browser on my TV and do it that way. But I would really like to be able to actually watch it on my TV. I know there's not going to ever be a Samsung app for AHL, but just a roundabout way, if you guys are able to do it, please let me know how you're able to watch it on your TV. Now, Cheryl says if I'm watching on my phone, it logs me out each time I change the angle. That's interesting. I know that every time I close my browser, even though I hit save my credentials, it still logs me out anyway. But if you change the angle, see, I didn't know you could change the angles. I didn't think that actually worked. So I guess I'll have to do some more playing around. Kuda Phil, good to hear it from you. You say Chromecast works perfect, so that's cool. I'm glad to hear that. The Eagles one is terrible. Now, the Eagles one is terrible, but I think part of that is where the placement of their camera is got that Joe Louis Arena thing where the fans are all standing right in front of the camera and you can't see what the hell's going on. So I think that's more of an arena adjustment. Correct me if I'm wrong on that. Yeah, Brian says it's right in the crowd. Yeah, it is. Yeah, Rob's saying he's going to try his AHL.TV on the Fire Stick. I've heard it's pretty good. I haven't done it myself, but that's an avenue I'm considering. So what's worse, AHL.TV or NHL.TV? That's an awesome question, Felix. So I'm going to say NHL.TV is worse in the sense of expectations. The AHL.TV site, while it doesn't work perfectly, I feel like it gets the job done. And that's all I really need, especially now that the audio is working out of both speakers and not just the left side. The only thing that I would really ask for is the ability to seamlessly transition between audio feeds without having to back out of the feed, go back in, now on sale for $45, even though I've already bought it thanks for the advertisement for something. And then finally loading up. That's something. But the NHL.tv, it's buggy. The support isn't there. Like, it used to work on my PlayStation 3, and they just removed support. I get the PlayStation 3 is old, but all of a sudden they just decided we're not going to support it anymore now that we finally got it somewhat working. Now it's a PS4 or Xbox, whatever, and it's still kind of buggy. The NHL, their streaming is run by the same company that does MLB and WWE. They're all under the same wing, and I think NBA might be in there too. And why do all those have apps for my TV and NHL doesn't? I mean, it's not like I have an old TV that doesn't have can't function an NHL app properly. It functions the WWE network fine. It functions MLB.TV fine. I don't care about the NBA, so bleh. But I don't understand how the NHL is. They're talking about all these advancements in technology. SAP's our sponsor. SAP runs our website. SAP is a great company, but why is so much broken with them? Like, I don't get it. So sorry about the kind of off tangent rant, but that's my answer to the question. NHL TV just pisses me off, and whereas AHL TV, I'm like, oh, okay. So let's see. Am I going to watch? Okay, I'm not getting into the wrestling stuff, but yes, of course I'm going to watch NXT. So all right, let's get out of here. Let's get to out of town scores, because why the hell not? I'm going to just do it quickly, though. I'm not going to do the full scale one because there's 10 games and I already wasted a lot of time on the All-Stars. But tonight, Hershey beat Bridgeport 4-1. Mike Scarbosa, the former San Jose Sharks prospect who was involved in the Jamie McGinn trade way back when, he scored the a goal for Hershey. It wasn't the winning goal, but so that's of note. Iowa also beat Rockford 4-1, or should I call them Rockfield? Are they the Rockfield Ice Hogs? Last time I went to a Barracuda game, they somehow were. Anyway, Rockfield loses to Iowa 4-1. 2-1 score in favor of Syracuse over Binghamton. John Quenville, the All-Star, had the only goal for Binghamton, and Alex Barré-Boulet. He scored early in the game for Syracuse. He's actually the leading rookie scorer in the entire league, and he's not an all-star. So that's the one where when I said I thought Syracuse had another all-star, he's the one I was thinking of, but he was not on the team. So that's kind of weird. Cameron Gauntz scored what ended up being the winning goal late in the first. In the battle of, well, there's a few Pennsylvania teams, but in the main battle of Pennsylvania tonight, Wilkes-Barre Scranton Penguins, Richard's favorite. I don't know why, but that's Richard's favorite. They beat the Lehigh Valley Phantoms, their arch rivals, 2-1 in overtime. Ethan Prow, the all-star, with a goal with 1 minute left to play in overtime. The Penguins win 2-1. Providence Bruins, Battle of the Northeast. Providence Bruins beat the Hartford Wolfpack 5-2. Paul Carey had a hat trick for Providence. In Stockton tonight, the Heat fell to the Colorado Eagles in overtime 2-1. So Colorado maintains ground with Bakersfield, who obviously also won in overtime tonight. Actually, Colorado won in shootout. I'm mistaken on that. So that was a 2-1 score. I'm going to say this next one, again, in the same light as Rockfield, but the San Diego Gulls had 4 goals for against the Reign, who scored 1 goal for. Never do that again, please. Anyway, the Gulls won 4-1, and they outshot Ontario 46-21. Good Lord. I'm guessing Cal Peterson was in net for that, and that guy cannot. Cal Peterson might be the only guy who wants to play for LA, because then he gets out of Ontario. I mean, that's just how bad that organization has been this season. Big one for Tucson over the Texas Stars. That was a 6-3 score, despite the fact that Tucson only took 20 shots on goal. And why is my AHL score page refreshing? There's no games. But Tucson won 6-3. Big third period. It was a 3-3 game going into the third, and then goals by Hudson Fasching, Kyle Capobianco, and David Olstrom back from injury, although I guess he's been back for a couple weeks. But that's your score there in Tucson in the desert. Laval Roquette beat the Springfield Thunderbirds in overtime 4-3. Nikita Yevpalov scored a goal for Laval. That was in the second period. Let's just check on Nikita's stats here real quick. Xavier Ouellette scored with under a minute left in overtime for the Roquette to win. Looks like Nikita's got 9 goals this season. Okay, he was in the KHL last season, if I'm not mistaken, for Dinamo Riga. And now he's back in Canada. But he's closing in on a career high in goals, which was set 2 years ago with the Barracuda. He had 13 that year, but he's already got 9 in 42 games this season. So good for him. Then actually that rounds up your scores, because we already know the Barracuda lost 6-5 tonight in that wild one. So let's see here. Chat is loving Nikita Yevpalov poll there. So let's see. Oh, and they're also dissing the the out of town scores thing. Yeah. 4 goals for versus the Thunderbirds, who scored 3 goals on their team. Anyway. All right. So that's my show tonight, guys. Thank you again for watching. Good God, I went 1 hour and 22 minutes on my own. Could you imagine if Ian and Hockey Jerk were here? Like, this would probably be a 3-hour show, because we'd get through all this Barracuda nonsense. Not nonsense, but I'm just saying, because I just did 1 hour and 20 minutes of Barracuda coverage. That's the part that's nonsense. Probably could have done it in 30, but glad you guys are enjoying this. So then we'd get to all the NHL stuff and the All-Star game and whatnot. And we'd be up till 2 in the morning. And yeah. So, but please subscribe if you're new to the show and you're watching for the first time and you're like, hey, this wasn't half bad. This guy should do this more often. I will try and do it more often, but the little subscribe fairy will need to come and say, hey, we got an uptick. So, and then of course, I'd love more follows. I'm closing in on 600 followers on Twitter, which is really cool. I had that big jolt from the Erik Karlsson trade and the training camp coverage that I provided this season right before my life got super, super busy. I will be trying to put out an article for tealtownusa.com on the Barracuda All-Stars. Hopefully I can get it done, because as you know, I also had a huge article that I had mostly written for them at the start of the season about Rudolph Balcers, and then he got traded the day I was supposed to release the article, literally about an hour before I was supposed to release the article, and I just decided I wasn't going to rewrite it. So hopefully I'll get that All-Star article out for you guys. But again, thanks for watching. Really appreciate it. Nice to be back on the air. I should probably have a lozenge right now, because boy, this was a lot of talk, but I tried to take your advice from the last time I did a solo show and breathe a little bit more and drink a little bit more water. So yeah. What's the hardest you've ever shot a slapper? We'll go with that. Actually, there's 2 things I'm going to end the show with. One is not very hard, because my slap shot sucks so bad. How bad does it suck? It sucks so bad that Alexei Semenov had a better slap shot than I do. But the weird thing is, I can, because I'm a defenseman, when I'm not getting concussed, I'm a defenseman. And I have perfected the slap clear. I don't know why. I can slap clear, but I can't slap shot. I think it's the whole instinct. Like, I just spin around and slap it and clear it down and no problem. But when it comes to actually thinking about my shot, taking it, placing it, trying to get it through traffic and whatnot, I don't take slap shots. I just can't. And every time, if you want a good laugh, come to one of my games at Silver Creek Sportsplex on Tuesday nights and watch me warm up. Because you either won't see me ever do a slap shot, or when you do, it will be the most hysterical thing you've ever seen. Radim Shimmick, his slap clear tonight, although I can do slap clears. Radim Shimmick's slap clear was how my slap shot is. That's how bad. And then the other thing I want to bring up is, did you guys see on Twitter that last night some members of the Mighty Ducks movie were in attendance at the Barclays Center for the Ducks and Islanders game, and they had a box and they were wearing Ducks jerseys, and it was the actors who played Guy Germain, Adam Banks, Russ Tyler, who's Keaton Thompson from Saturday Night Live. Warms my heart, that girl, Julie Gaffney, man, and Danny Tamborelli, Tommy Duncan from the first Mighty Ducks. So they were there, and I just thought that was really cool that they embraced it. And I guess that was really the first reunion of sorts that the Mighty Ducks actors have had since the movies were done. So Brian, Julie Gaffney, man, she's still as pretty as ever. And actually, Adam Banks' hair game, he's still got that flow going strong. I need to borrow some of that flow. But yeah, it was just really cool. And then I guess the Ducks lost 3-0 or something to the Islanders. So apparently that was the highlight of the game as well, as if you're a Ducks fan. So Danny Tamborelli was in GTA 5. I think I knew that, but I don't feel like I knew that. So that's curious. I know he was Little Pete on Pete and Pete. And then, of course, Russ Tyler was on All That and now on Saturday Night Live. And he did the most illegal goal of all time, skating past center as a goaltender. And somehow, anyway, it's movies, it's magic, whatever. So I'm Kevin Lacey. Thanks for following me on Twitter. Thanks for watching. So I'll talk to Ian. I'll talk to Hockey Jerk. We'll try and get something together because we definitely cannot go another month without a show. It's been way too long. So again, hey, thanks, Cheryl. I appreciate that. Christine, you as well. And then Felix, are you ever doing another solo TTG? Probably. This is like my 5th one that I've done. I try not to do it solo, but I guess that's all life, and I try not to do it solo. So anyway, wow, I'm gonna end on that. So again, thanks for watching, guys. Have a great night, have a great week, and also happy Martin Luther King Day. I should also mention that, just because that's kind of a big deal. So thank you, Dr. King. Have a good night, guys.